Hello and welcome. For Flash MBA, this is Andrew Hupert. Today we're talking about cross-culture negotiation, and I'm going to introduce one of my favorite topics, analyze and adjust. The takeaway for this chapter is that successful negotiators have to analyze and adjust, but I want you to do things a little differently. I want you to analyze the counterparty and then adjust your own behavior, your own plans, and your own tactics. So to be successful, negotiators have to analyze your counterparties, and you have to understand their true goals, their priorities, and their intentions. But understanding him is just the beginning. Once you know what he's about, then you have to make adjustments to your own behavior, your own plans, and your own method. One of the first adjustments you have to make is determining if this is the right counterparty for you. If you need a long-term partner, but the guy across the table is not being open or honest, then you should probably move on. Earlier is better than later. So this process is counterintuitive. You're analyzing him and you're adjusting yourself. It sounds simple, and it sounds very obvious when you first hear it, but just remember that this is the opposite of the way humans are wired to behave. Usually we focus completely on our own needs and concerns and then attempt to get our counterparty to comply. So let's start by asking a simple question. Where do you want to end up? What's your end game? And then we're going to ask the same question of him. What's his end game? Where does he want to end up? You lose a negotiation when you lose sight of your goals. It happens all the time, and it's not always an accident. A good negotiator sitting across the table from you can make you lose focus or get you worked up about details that draw you away from the real objective. Now, while it's important to focus on your own goals, you should also know what he wants from you. His stated goals might or might not be the truth, but he will certainly let you know in other ways what his real intentions are. Now, body language may be an indicator. That's very in fashion right now. But you can learn even more by listening to what he proposes, what he agrees to, and what he rejects. So let's drill down to frontline negotiators and tactics. And I want to talk to you about conflict. It is okay to respond. It's good to respond to what to what your counterparty has to say. It's bad to be reactive and to let him just automatically take the lead. So another way to say that is, you've got to find a middle path between being too aggressive and scaring him off and being too accommodating and giving in too much. All negotiations run the risk of ending in conflict. But when the counterparties are from different cultures, you have to take special precautions. If you're too aggressive, you may disqualify yourself as a suitable partner. But if you're too accommodating, you'll never make a good deal. You'll never be able to apply pressure. Some Americans like to open strong and gradually build a friendlier relationship. While this may work great at home, in China or other relationship-based business cultures, this could be a deal killer. Relationships are part of the business process. It's not emotional, it's not chemistry, it's just business. If you're North American or Northern European, there's a good chance you define relationship in emotional terms, associating the idea with friends or family. Your Chinese counterpart and your counterparties from most other countries, most other regions, don't see relationships that way. In China, relationships are all about business. Relationships are intentional. You plan them and you invest in them. In the U.S., successful transactions may lead to a trust-based relationship. In China, however, relationships are what lead to transactions. Now, there are two main implications to this. First, don't neglect the relationship building phase, or shoot yourself in the foot with a super aggressive opening position. Second, the relationship building process may seem like fun and games, especially in China. You'll be eating at banquets, you'll be drinking, you'll be singing together at KTVs, there's booze, there's girls, there's food. But you're on the job, and you're being assessed at every turn. Now, many hungover Western visitors that I have worked with and I have spoken to have been very surprised to find out the next day that the Chinese side is holding them to the firm commitment and promises that they made the night before. What does all this mean? Plan for change. Plans change, and good planners make those changes work for them. The one thing, however, you're not going to change is his behavior, his attitudes, or his experience. When you listen to that guy across the table, you're going to learn things. That's half the story. And it's good to do that. It's good to learn things. But now that you have information, you actually have to do something with it. And it may be very different from the original strategy you or your bosses put together in New York or London. Case in point, if it turns out your potential counterparty isn't quite as honest, trustworthy, or accommodating as you had hoped, you have to adjust your plans. You don't just dig in and sort of hope that it gets better and hear what you want to hear. You may have to change the method that you're going to use to do business. You may have to change the agreement or the compensation plan. Or it may mean that you have to drop a potential partner and move on to better prospects. The final word, analyze, adjust, sounds simple, almost naively so. But under the stress of a live negotiation, most people do the opposite. They analyze their own needs and they react by trying to change the guy across the table. It rarely ends well. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you again soon.